estate. I think there's actually tons of different ways to do it. I think there's just certain principles that you have to follow to do it the right way. So we're going to learn a little bit about where they came from before they got here, what brought them here, what they've experienced, and then even talk about maybe some of the pitfalls of things to avoid as time goes on, based on what y'all have learned. So, Ernie, just in the essence of proximity, man, what did you do before you became a realtor?
I'm looking at the group right now. There's like 5 or 6 goats out there. That's pretty cool. I see you back there, Rodney. No, I was a high school English teacher for 10 years, and then much like, what was your name again? Brittany. We were just chatting a moment ago. She quit. Was it this past June, or it's still fairly recent? So my last day of teaching was June 15th, 2015. So I guess 9 years ago, and just kind of never looked back after that. So went full time. Completely walked away from teaching. Burned all those bridges to the degree I could, and just jumped in full force.
What did you do before real estate?
I got out of jail in 2000.
Good year.
No, but I was a 10-year vet in college. Played basketball at a couple of junior colleges. Came home, got my degree from Virginia State while managing a restaurant. And then I didn't want to work at Capital One or Dominion. So I went to a forum, a real estate forum, and I didn't have any money, but they sell you at the end. So I said I'm gonna get my license. So that was it.
Why real estate? Why did you guys decide to jump in?
What was the quote? Of the top 1%, 50% of them are investing in real estate. So to me, it was a no-brainer.
Can't beat them, join them.
Yep.
I guess for me, I was taking all these like online, questionnaires and talking to a bunch of different people and trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my life. I knew it wasn't teaching, so it honestly took me a couple of years, the tail end, years, I don't know, honestly, probably like 5 through 10 of teaching, where I was like, I need to do something different. I just didn't know what it was, and I'm gonna be long-winded here. I guess the short version is, I was trying to picture what my ideal day would look like, and then what career path that would be. And somebody mentioned real estate to me, and I thought, I hadn't given it any thought, and so I did some research. And it's one of those things with the reticular activator, where once I started thinking real estate, I started meeting people who were in the business and talking with them, and I just thought, well, and I honestly knew nothing about real estate, and I just thought, I think this is for me. And even after I got my license, I still knew nothing about real estate, the day-to-day, business. They say it's funny because I remember in the Power Hours, or what are those called? Powerhouse. Yeah. I remember Mike Chenault telling me that he's like, oh yeah, you just make calls from 9 to 11. Got the rest of the day off. I knew that wasn't true, but I guess the whole making your own schedule thing, which I do to some degree, but just having the flexibility of having that sort of. I just didn't want to go to an office every day and check in at 9 and be done at 5. I was cool working 9 to 9 if that's what it took. I just wanted to really have love what I was doing. So
who jumped into real estate for the same reason? The freedom, the schedules, the that kind of stuff. I think that's probably what draws us a lot, at least to what it might look like when the time comes. Ernie, we'll stay with you. What do you think, if you had to pick a thing, right? One thing that has attributed to your success in real estate, what do you think?
Same as probably anyone else who's had some success, just outworking everyone else.
What does that look like to you?
It's actually not that much different now than it was. I mean, I will admit it's easier now to some degree, because you build up all these past clients, and then they just, as long as you're keeping in touch with them, then they just call you, and they think of you anytime a friend's buying a house, they think of you. So it does kind of spiral and get much easier over a period of time. But early on, it was just going to those powerhouses. And I guess in those days, it was Monday through Thursday. I didn't have anything else to do, so I went every day. It was 9 to 10, and I just tried to emulate or do literally everything they said to do. And that's what I did. And they gave me, again, I've said it a million times, but it still hangs, at my desk, this little form that somebody gave me that says, if you want to do 12 deals, follow this script. And it said, 48 open houses, if you want to do 12 deals a year. Or it said this many COI contacts, this many lunches, this many this. And it was a whole long list, and I said, oh, this is great. This is a template. I shall pick these two, and I'll sell 24 houses. So I picked 2 of them. I tried a lot of them. Literally everything on the list, from door knocking to, at a certain point, I had already taken the 8 people that I knew out to lunch, and so I was kind of, exhausted on that front. I came up with some different strategies and ways of meeting new people, but so the goal, that first full year in the business, I had 6 months, and then I had the first calendar year of 2016. So my goal, based off that chart, was to sell 24 houses.
It's funny how things come full circle too, because at the sales meeting this week, I felt like they kind of rehashed that same form. At once upon a time, it was do one of these things very well to close 12 deals a year, and there was a list of things very similar to Ernie. I was too dumb to know any better. I just kind of showed up and was like, man, they gave me a list to do already. May as well get started. But it just goes to show that what worked for Ernie when he started out, it's the same thing that hometown shows at the last sales meeting. Some of this stuff just never goes out of style. It might be packaged up a little bit differently than it was once upon a time, but the principles seem to stay the same.
Yeah, it's about exactly the same. I do the same thing. If I had to start over, there's a few things I would do differently, but
amen to that. But the reading through the lines, the core of it is like, other than those few things you would do differently, there probably wouldn't be much different in how you run your business now versus how you did when you kind of made the climb.
No, I'd be more organized, if I went back to circle over again, but all the things I do now, yeah.
What about you, Melvin? What do you one thing, man, what do you think has led to the success of experience?
George too.
Just them being that great?
Just consistency. You gotta pay attention to what you're doing when you're meeting people. And when I really developed a strategy with my database is when things started to change. I'm not organized at all, but I always got something I can do every day. You know what I mean? And so when you're meeting these people, to make sure that you're taking their number, and because they don't respond, don't give up. They'll call you. You know what I mean? They pay attention. They read the emails, they read the cards, and they hear your messages. So I say stay consistent, and just because someone doesn't answer the first, the 10th, the 20th, they'll call you.
What's the story with when, before you were with us, about your lead follow-up versus when you and I talked?
Oh, you get 2 emails and I'm done with you. I'm just saying, you know what I mean? It's easy to do. It's like, they're not responding, but these guys literally continue. Jero's making calls right now, I promise.
There's no question.
There's no question. There's no question in my mind. And he does
Jero's
it every day.
calls like all day.
All day long. And he writes 20 cards, 30 cards, 40 cards. He doesn't stop. So if you can take a piece of that and apply it to your business, you'd be surprised at what we do for it. You know what I mean? So
it might be shallow of me to say, but I'm not as busy as Matt Jero is in the real estate realm, and I hear a guy is on the phone making calls all day and still makes the time to write 20 notes, right? And this is a guy that's been a top 3 agent at our firm for probably the last 7 to 8 years. Again, I think those principles they reign tried and true. Melvin said consistency, have a strategy, and don't give up. Pretty raw, basic info. I think it still applies. What's the most challenging part of real estate?
staying organized. Because, I mean, you start getting pulled in all these directions, right? You gotta build that pipeline, and then you gotta take care of the people that you're servicing now. And it's hard to manage at times. So you can go to the gym, and you can go to the pool, and you can do all that stuff, but you gotta really manage your time well. Especially when you got 3 to 5 to 10 to 20 deals going at once. It's hard to, get to that attention. But the second you stop, for instance, the last quarter when the holidays come around, nobody works. We do open houses all through the holidays. It's 2 hours. You just gotta be one person. And continue to do that, and it just builds and builds and builds.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, the time management piece is probably the What was the question?
One thing
Oh,
that
you
you
talk about real estate?
yeah.
Yeah, because I think when you first get started, you know, you want to say yes to everything, and then as you move along, the hard part for me is saying no to people, and if someone called and wants to see something at X time, I mean, I would, I'd step over my mom to go show my house, and so, if I could go back in time, I would probably set, because you don't have to sell, 100 houses to have a really good life. In fact, you could probably have a much better life selling 40 or 30 or 20 houses. So that's probably the hardest part for me, is saying no, because I'm kind of obsessed, and I love doing it, and I love the people, and so I constantly go. So it's hard for me to give some of that up, and frankly take time off. I'm getting better at it, but it's been almost a decade now. So
I think that's valuable. It's a good point to get to. How have you come to terms with saying no when you have said no? Couldn't say it early, in the early years, really, really hard to do. It sounds like you found a way to say it a little more than you did once upon a time.
Well, there's different types of no's in real estate, I guess, but when it comes to working with certain clients, it's hard for me to say, hey, blah 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 blah. I'm getting better at kicking them to Jen or Peggy or Melvin or someone else on the team. So it's never really a hard no to anybody. It's just I'm gonna set them up with someone else on the team, and they'll take them through the houses, or they'll do whatever, blah blah blah. I'm just so obsessed with the action that it's hard to do. But now I'm totally at peace with it now. If someone is just not a good fit and I pass them off to somebody else, or if I just pass them off right away. And, I mean, some of my goals this year are to pass off X number of clients to the rest of the team, and that's more of a super hot lead. That's someone that I've already talked to, they're already qualified. That's totally different. I have no problem with a sign call or a website lead or this or that. I just kind of pass it and don't think about it.
What it sounded like you said is you're still not saying no. You're saying not me, not yet. A different variation of no. So it's not a hard no. It's look, you're still going to work with us. You might not be working with me, but we can still take care of you.
No, yeah, we've got the whole team, so I don't have to. Now, the other no I was thinking about is, there have been occasions where I'll pull up to the house on a listing appointment, and this is interesting, and then I'll go inside and I'll think no.
Resounding.
And especially if we start to talk about, and there was one recently where I showed up. It was kind of what I was expecting, and I kind of had, this is not a bad price point at all. I had in my mind kind of 325 to 350, and we sat down, we talked, we went through the house, the whole nine, and she said, "All right, what do you think? My price is 500." I'm like,
a little off, a little ways off.
Yeah. So, and older, potential client, et cetera, and I just thought, this is, how good of a use of my time is this? Is this going to, can I even sell this house at an X price? And the answer is no. I went back, I reran the numbers, I got everyone's opinion in the office, what do you guys think? Everyone kind of came up with 300 to 350, and what's the point moving forward on this? So, that's gonna be now. So I'll piggyback on Melvin for a second. There were a couple lots down the Woodland Heights area, and I guess Matt and I were both kind of prospecting it, and the guy, I don't know if he called me first or he called Matt first, but he called and said, "Hey, I'm interested in selling my lot that I have down here." I think it was 2 lots actually, and I think he left a message with Matt and called me right after, and then I'm on the phone with him, and Matt's calling in. He's like, "Do you and Matt Jerome work together?" I said, "Yeah, we work together, blah blah blah." We ended up getting those lots under contract. One of the builders that we work with, built 2 houses on the lots. And we just closed both of them, and those were both, $525 each. So, some calls, some notes, whatever. It's I guess $1,050,000 in volume. So that's this lady called me back I guess 3 weeks ago. I've been kind of writing her cards for years on Forest Hill Avenue. And she called me and we talked on the phone, and I gave her some options, and ultimately the best option for her that she decided this was the best option for her was to go to market. And we just ended it this morning. So, and again, that was just, maybe I wrote her, I don't know how many cards I wrote her. I think I looked in my notes. I've been kind of reaching out to her since 2020. And now she'll go in a separate pile. This other pile over here is just people that we continue to reach out to. But as far as like finding the rest of the clients, like we've always been just huge on open houses. And following up with all the past clients. I mean, Melvin and I were just talking about this the other day. I don't want to really give the impression to past clients that I want to sell your house, please sell it tomorrow, because that's not really what I'm trying to do. But I check the hot sheets and I get all these emails in the morning, and I'll see something listed on Fendel Avenue over North Side, and so immediately my brain goes to who lives on Fendel, and I'll shoot them a quick text and say, Josh and Aaron, hope you're doing well. Saw 2719 Fendel went up. I'll try to find you some good neighbors. Smiley face, maybe 2 exclamation points, maybe a thumbs up, whatever it is. But it's just a touch. I haven't asked them for anything. I'm just making them aware that I exist, I'm alive, and I'm a real estate professional. And if you have any friends or family, I would love to be helpful. It's just a good way to kind of like touch base. And if I'm showing a house in a neighborhood, especially one that I don't hit very often, sometimes I might, I'll be like, oh, okay, I'm just gonna drive around the corner, I'll take a picture of Mark's house, shoot a little text, Mark, I'm in the neighborhood, hope you're doing well, I like the reef on the front door. I wouldn't say that to Mark. Maybe if his wife's name is Tori, I might say that to her. But some version of that as I'm out and about. These are just like little touches that are outside of like the home anniversary card or the birthday card or the whatever card it is.
You gotta let Mark know that his lawn looks good.
Yeah, lawn looks good. You're crushing it. Whatever it is. Yeah, 100%.
It's kind of crazy to hear the consistencies in these classes that we have. I don't know if y'all realize it, but there's 2 or 3 things that's pretty common in every class, regardless of what the topic is or what we're doing or anything like that. I wrote a couple of things down here. When you cultivate relationships, you don't just cultivate short-term relationships, right? Our job is to cultivate short, mid, and long-term relationships, and there's a number of ways to do that. But if we're in the short-term mindset, somebody that doesn't fit that model is just gone to us. Well, inevitably, somebody's going to sell that person a house, So I think hearing them talk about how they cultivate those mid and long-term opportunities for sometimes 4, 5, 6 years, sometimes that's just what it takes, right? What do y'all love? What do y'all love most about real estate?
There we go.
Golf.
I love the action. I love working with the people, and whether it's on the buy side or the list side, I just love it's like a game to me. Meeting as many people as I possibly can and staying in touch with them, and it's just the people, and and especially it's one thing to sell a house for $1 million, but it's really cool. We've got a client right now, and they're they're up to 235, and that's I don't know if anyone's noticed that it's tough. And they're in their early 50s, they're first-time home buyers, and that will be very gratifying when we do find them something. So if anyone has anything, a great original area, it's 235. Call me.
Playing the game. Yeah. Playing the game. What about you, Mel?
I love the chase, you know what I mean? I love the chase down. There's nothing more gratifying than when your work pays off for you, right? I know that I like being able to know that if I don't work, I don't eat. You know what I'm saying? Simple as that. So,
Doesn't save any money.
I've always, I've always been a hustler. I've always, grinded it out, and it feels good to also help people as well. You know what I mean? It's satisfying to help people find that house they love. So yeah, just you never know what you're getting into. You could be a lady with a hazmat suit, you know what I mean? Or I could meet a dude that wants to buy a house for $1 million and he wants to take me to Kenlock. I don't know. I'm just saying. You never know what's gonna happen.
Every day's an adventure.
It
Yeah.
is an adventure.
So, let's say I'm new to the business. I got a thin pipeline, right? Like I've been doing some of the stuff, not consistent yet, and I'm trying to jump into the open house game on a monthly basis. No right or wrong answers, just your opinion, right? how many open houses in a month should a new agent do?
I mean, I've said it a million times, but like, it can't be less than 8 to 10. You know, I guess, I was trying to do 16 when I could. Cause I figured out that I wanted to be in a specific neighborhood for that weekend. If I could replicate that weekend after weekend, and the houses would stay on the market much longer then. But, you know, if I could just stay in the West End, or if I could just stay in this, you know, pocket of Hanover, or, you know, Chester, or wherever it is, I would try to be there week in and week out, so that people who didn't have an agent, they would come back and they'd see me, and they'd be like, oh, you must know Chester, Virginia. It's not really my jam, but, you know, if I were repeating open houses down there, you know, maybe it is my jam. But yeah, if I could get open houses that were in close proximity, I would do Saturday noon to 2, and then 2:30 to 4:30, and I would just pick up all my open house signs, and you know, the lead-ins, we still do balloons, but the price of helium is out of control, but we still do balloons. And I would just truck my little signs over to the next one, and then, you know, open up shop, and I'd just rinse, repeat, and do it again on Sunday. And if it was the same houses, you know, if that kept me in the same area, that's what I would try to do. Because early I would do one on Saturday in like, you know, Midlothian, and then, you know, Sunday I was in Lakeside, and I was just kind of bouncing. I was like, I need to kind of hone in and just try to stay in like similar areas over the course of time. I thought that would be more beneficial. But
It seems like you've become more of a recognizable face and brand in that area too. If people saw you consecutive weekends.
yeah, 100%. Yeah.
That makes sense. What, you know?
Yeah, I agree. It's, you know, I'm doing 2 this weekend. I'm out at least usually once a week if we have inventory. It's been a little scarce since the beginning of the year. But yeah, I'm out every weekend if I can, at least once, twice if we need it. Now we got an extra teammate, so we spread them out a little more. But
And I don't do nearly as many as I used to, for a multitude of reasons. But you know, I did one on last Sunday, and I got 2 pretty good leads out of it, so that was great. And I'm gonna do one on Sunday as well. So it's been a long time since I've done 4 on a weekend. I will say that.
What it happened?
Oh yeah, for years.
So Ernie, you have like a magical box there. It's got something.
It's just my visual aid.
Crazy.
Yeah, since I had it in the car, I thought I'd bring it along. I take this everywhere I go. It's my cards, and so the whole point of it was just to impart on you the importance of like writing these notes. I mean, someone made the point earlier that Dro is consistently 1, 2, or 3. It has been since like the dawn of time. And I'm telling you, like, there's no secret to it. Nobody writes as many cards as Matt Dro. It's madness. And you wouldn't think you would need to. You'd be like, oh, he just rolls out of bed and sells $1 million a week. And then he loves to say that in the office.
Yes.
Like, you'll hear him on the phone, we sell $1 million a week around here. And I mean, he's not lying, but he sits and writes cards like a nut. And I've got a bunch here. I mean, these are the ones I wrote earlier today. There's probably, I don't know, 10 or 12 in there. So I'll get those in the mail later today. They're to a multitude of different people, but I've always got it with me. It's just a constant reminder that I need to write more cards. And again, if you have no business right now, you just got your license last week, and you're doing an open house this Sunday, I don't know why, if the weather's good, you wouldn't, print out a flyer and walk the neighborhood and knock on the doors. The last thing anybody wants is someone to knock on the door and, if you have something, an item of value, if nothing else, you could at least say, hey, I'm holding an open house, down the street on Sunday, would love for you to pop by. If you can just muster that, that's actually okay to do. If you knock on the door, hey, I'm so-and-so, and I'd like to sell your house, don't do that. But, the people who do open the door and they do take the open house flyer, make a note of that. If they come to the open house, great. Write them a card and thank them. If they don't come to the open house, tell them that they, still write them a card. I mean,
and
that's...
piggyback on that.
Yeah.
So then you write them the card. Then you write them the card when it sells. Then you skip trace them and call them. You just say, hey, I don't know if you got my card. Then you got their number and their name, and figure out how to contact them again when something else happens in the neighborhood. You know what I mean? If you hear something's coming, but that's how you just start to build that database outside of your CLI. You know what I mean? Yeah, that's what I do. So that's what I would do. If I meet a neighbor, they get a card. They get 2 cards. And then I just treat them like clients. I try to let them know stuff. See if they'll call me.
Yeah, I never knew how to get like 50 people I could reach out to, because I didn't have 50 people. So I just started like, I would just kind of prospect these neighborhoods as I was doing open houses, and like occasionally I would meet some people. There's just, this is like 2 seconds. I guess it was like 2016. Actually, no, it was the summer of 2015 because I had nothing else to do. I was door knocking in the West End because no one wants to sell houses in the West End. Like everybody and their brother is like tackling these neighborhoods of like Hanover and Kensington and all this. And I didn't know any better, so I was out there knocking on doors. And I probably, I don't know, I probably closed over a long period of time. I met a couple people as I was doing that. And a few of those houses, that's translated into, it's probably been $5 million worth of business that it's translated into that week of door knocking in the West End, just from a couple of the people I met. And to this day, there's still 2 people that one person that I met door knocking that day, I ended up selling her house probably 2 or 3 years ago for like $550. I helped her get a house further in the West End, like church, far west of Church Run area. She bought that for like $550 or $6. She introduced me to her friend who lived on her block, who I'm still in talks with. We'll probably list her house at some point. Could be 6 months from now, could be 2 years from now. But I swear to you, all that came from door knocking in the West End. It's the craziest thing, but it's true.
Well, you all make a good point. So right now there's all kinds of fun stuff going on in the news. I don't watch the news because I don't really care about that stuff. I care more about kind of what's happening in my day-to-day life. But there's plenty of drama out there if you look at it. There's two other things that there's plenty of out there too. The first is people, and the second is houses. But I think instead of looking for the drama, maybe we start looking for the people in the houses as a substitute to the first model. If you had to share one tip, I love and Matt actually did this a couple of weeks ago at an open house we had good talks with the neighbors, extra sweaty, all kinds of good stuff from it. But like a tip like that, right? Like you could do an open house or you could do an open house, right? What's one tip outside of what we've talked about so far that you feel like makes a good open house?
What do you think? I think I've got an answer to every person.
A good open house.
I think just being.
I was gonna say you gotta have balloons. You gotta have balloons. You gotta lead in signs to get people there, right? Balloons, I would say, is huge to get people there. When you're there, you introduce yourself, you let them be for a minute, and then when they come back around, is what I like to do. I say, oh, do you live in the neighborhood? No, and you start digging lightly there, and you don't pressure. You know what I mean? I can't tell you how many times I come and they don't think I'm an agent. One, because I wear hoodies and stuff. Like, you sign in, I'm like, sure, bud, Melvin Jones. Like, no, that's not how you do it. You gotta be inviting, right? And you gotta know what's going on around, right? Because everyone's not gonna like that house. So maybe 2 or 3 other addresses in the area to throw at them to make it seem like you know what's going on. 5 minutes of research could make you 20 grand. You know what I mean? Know something else. If they don't have an agent, I can take you after. I'm done at 2 o'clock. But knowing what's happening like around you is key.
Yeah, no, having a little bit of research so you can like kind of speak to the neighborhood as you're talking with these folks. But we've got sign-in sheets at the front, but as a general rule, people come in, we really don't even mention that they're there. We've got flyers out for the house and really good open house with their cards out and all that. But my goal was always just to meet, one good lead in every open house. I didn't need to have it's great, a lot of people will just come in and kind of naturally sign in, but I wanted to have like at least one quality conversation with one person who did not already have an agent at every open house. If it was 2, if it was 3, that was even better. I would let people kind of tour around the downstairs. Once they go upstairs, I would kind of make my way upstairs. There's no way out. They have to talk to me now. But I realized that kind of after the fact. I'm tracking all these people upstairs. But I would, hey, what do you all think of the house? And they'd tell me what they think of the house, great. And we would just start having this kind of natural conversation, which is the best way to do it. And maybe, regardless of what they say, there's going to be a moment where they say, well, we don't know. We're going to, go check out this, we saw this other house or whatever it is, or we're looking in this area. Then I would always have like a reaction to that would allow me to whip my phone out, which would be, have in my back pocket. I'm trying to think of an example. They might say, well, we saw this other house, up in Churchill. And that's an easy one because I probably know everything that's on the market. And I'd say, oh yeah, this particular house. They say, yeah, that one. So yeah, that's a great house. At this point, I probably would have already asked them if they were working with somebody, because otherwise I would have left the situation. Great, thanks for coming, and I'd have moseyed to someone else. But great, that's an awesome house. If you guys want to check it out sometime, what's a good email for you? And then they can't say no. My phone's already out. I'm ready to type. And then what was your last name again? And what's a good number? And yeah, let's I'll shoot you a text when we leave here. I'll give you a call or whatever. Let's set something up, and yeah, that'd be great. So
It's like guiding them over dictating and stuff to them, right? Like they don't even realize you're guiding them. The next thing you know, you've got their information and you've got a client to meet. But it sounds like it was all done by kind of like a soft intro, not a heavy push.
yeah, super soft intro.
Strong. Who's got questions for these guys? Benjamin.
Melvin, I have a question for you.
Yes, sir.
You said at the beginning you're not very organized, but you talked about like you have the open house and you go and you give the flyer, and then they do come, they don't come, so you write the card, and then you might write a card later, and then you try to call them. Like, how did your process? Like, you got to have some sort of organized system. Or you just wake up and just start.
No, I got follow-up balls.
Okay,
But again,
so
I'm just saying, like, when I say I'm not organized, it's just because I'm not getting through all the things I need to get through. So to me, I feel like I'm not organized. But follow-up balls, I think Tommy uses it. I'm not very smart. I just literally, if I meet you at the open house, first thing I do, I set up a search to myself for you that comes to me. If you're really hot, it's ASAP. If not, it's daily. I'll just have your name in the subject and any house that you explain that you might like under the criteria.
That's reminding you often.
Boom, it's in my inbox.
Yeah.
8 a.m., I get like 50 emails with people that I'm trying to chase down. And they're all set up to me, along with like a neighborhood, just all kind of stuff. That's the main thing I use. So that is one reminder. But then also, like, let's say that you tell me to hit you on Friday, I'll go to follow-up balls, I'll put your name in, and I'll put a task, and it'll just 8 a.m. the day before, I'll get a reminder. Then the morning of, I'll get a reminder.
Got it.
And then I'll send you an email or call or whatever it's supposed to be.
I think what you mean by unorganized is like the goal is 20 cards, you only run 7.
Yeah, like I only did 20 cards last week. I had a bad week last week because I was busy. But my goal is 10 cards a day, 5 calls a day. Got that from Mike. And
Yeah, that was kind of like the follow-up question. Like, what is like daily goal? 10 cards, 5 calls? Yeah.
10. And most of them are people I've never talked to.
Yeah.
If you have bad handwriting, does that mean that you should not write cards?
Man, that's the worst handwriting. I can't even read.
How many does he write?
His grammar is terrible.
Maybe that's
He told me he spelled congratulations wrong for like 15 years.
No, and how do you, when you send the email to yourself, you then text the client, call them, like, is that the key? Like,
I'll email the house to them.
Okay,
So I'll email and say, hey, Jane and Bruce.
a personal email
Yeah.
instead of an automated.
I don't know if this one works, but this seems like it was something you might be interested in. If you wanted to check it out, give me a call.
It goes
Quick.
automated once we've got them as a client. So this is still kind
This is
of
like someone I'm chasing down from open house.
Got it.
Isn't it cool though, instead of them doing their job every day, right? Like check your gateway, let me know if you see anything. They don't even have it. Melvin's got access to the info, and then he becomes a liaison between them and the properties. I think that's definitely.
It's just a little more personalized than the morning one.
Yeah.
Especially if I'm chasing you down.
Yeah.
It's like this guy's paying attention.
It's one thing that you can at least feel like you're doing different probably than most of the agents that are out there, just who are kind of setting up a gateway and like holler at me.
Yeah.
Like, ready to get out there whenever y'all want to. That's strong. Justin, you had somebody.
Yeah, how often do you all meet as a team, and generally what do you all cover, and how's that run?
We meet once a week on Tuesdays in the morning, and we try to go over what open houses are being done that coming weekend. We go over any listings that are coming up, whether they're going to hit that week or they're 2 weeks out, 3 weeks out, 4 weeks out. Well, we don't cover every single. We've got a big board in the office that is it's got all the months of the year, and then all the houses that are projected for that month. We're kind of set up on that, so you can kind of in theory just walk right over there and look at it. And then the other big thing that we talk about, probably more between open houses and just what happened over the weekend. and we just review, data points. And hey, I wrote on this one, I didn't get it. They said they had 11 offers. This is what we wrote. Or hey, I received 8 offers on this house. These are what the offers look like. And then if there was anything, it's always fun to kind of see what other agents are doing in terms of what they might have in additional terms or whatever it is, because we steal stuff all the time. If someone wrote something and it was unique and interesting, we'll take that and put it in our little repertoire of tools. So.
What are some of those great tools that you picked up?
Mostly it's just language, and especially like years ago, like if you log into like in our Google Docs, if you go in there and you just open up appraisal language, there's like 10 different ways to write it in various ways of whether we're it's one thing to just waive an appraisal, but if you're just absorbing the first 10,000 of any appraisal shortfall, or you're absorbing the first 20,000, or if you're saying, hey, if the house appraises between this and this, we'll do this. I guess that's kind of what it is. I mean, we all use the escalation clause like the addendum, now, but for a while we just had different types of language that we would use for that. Occasionally, Margaret on Boodly,
Oh, yeah.
what she do?
So we have this listing on Boodly near West End. I think I got like 5 offers on it, and that she was neck and neck with
Just another agent.
another agent, and she had an escalator on there, but on top of the escalator, she wrote in that they paid $30,000 of the seller's closing costs. It was $1 million house, so it was a big number. So on paper it's 1135000, but it's really 116. Is that right?
116.
I'm sorry. So, not, yeah, 11. It's 30 grand more than 1135. How about that? But my point is, my guy basically, my commission was paid by her. You know what I mean, or vice versa, whatever. He really only paid 3% total, and that's what got her the deal. But no one would ever know that because if you didn't see the contract.
And just seeing that, and then like putting that in our little toolbox, and like copying and pasting her language directly out of the contract and putting it in our files, just so we kind of have it. We're kind of thinking about it. So that's where it's going.
So that's what people are doing in their West End. You got to buy it, right? They're paying some of the sellers commission
Be creative
to win.
But knowledge is power, right?
Yeah.
You get it front and center, talk about it, come up with a plan together. If you can't beat them, join them.
Yeah.
Who else got any more questions?
I have a question. Hi, I just passed my exam last week, so I'm sorry if this is like really a novice question. Thank you. But I moved here also from out of town, so one of the things that I'm wanting to be focused on as I wait for my license to post is building my database. And I appreciate what you guys were saying about when you're talking to people and you're finding a way to softly ask them for phone number, email. But you had mentioned before too about being out and about in the neighborhood and meeting your neighbors and maybe following up with them with like a card. So I guess separate from door knocking, when you're at the door, you know what their address is. That makes me a little bit nervous, asking people to like, hey, give me your address.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how do you navigate those questions? That question specifically.
Well, yeah, Larry was mumbling tax records, but
Oh, okay.
yes, I think what you're asking. So, I'm out and about. I meet somebody and we're talking, and I just kind of figure out. Or a better example would be at an open house. Like someone comes in, like, oh, we're just neighbors. I love you too. You know what I mean? I love it when neighbors come through open houses. Those are great prospects. Again, let them tool around, whatever. So, hey, what'd y'all think of the house? Blah blah blah. You guys live in the neighborhood, right? And they're like, oh yeah, we live like just down the street. Like depending on where it is, I might be able to say something like, oh, you're on the 600 block. I can't say that in every neighborhood, but depending on where it is, I might be able to. Oh yeah. And sometimes they'll just blurt out the address, so then I have it. Otherwise, like, oh yeah, you're which is it the corner lot down there? And then I'll probe ways, I guess, to get them to kind of spill the beans on where it is exactly. And if not, I'll just pull it up in the tax records and thank them for coming to the open house.
Okay.
Or something along those lines.
Okay.
Even if they just give you their first name though, and they say they live a block or two away, I mean, in theory, you just click on the map until you find Tracy or Jeff.
Okay.
And you find 2 Tracys right at the
Write them both.
It's true, right? Like, it might have been Dean, I don't know if I was shadowing him one day or something like that, but he was talking with somebody about, he had their house listed and they wanted to know if they needed to do an open house on Easter. And he was like, look, the only thing that I can tell you is that if you don't do an open house on Easter, nobody's gonna come. If we do an open house on Easter, people are probably gonna come. I think we should do the open house. So it's kind of like, hey, swing the bat, right? Take the tools that we get each week. A full tool belt is good for nobody if you're not using any of the tools. So, take the tools that you're given each week and go try to have fun with it. These guys said some stuff today that kind of tripped me out, right? Like, I wrote it down. They made real estate a lifestyle. It's part of their everyday lifestyle now. It's not something that they do a little bit of and then excuse themselves from, kind of come back to it. It's just kind of part of a day-to-day, week-to-week lifestyle. Being intentional and being consistent, to me, seem both to be very important and both kind of like parts of the recipe for success. But having a strategy and not giving up, probably even better advice, right? It's basic stuff. They've given you some specifics, but I think from here, it's just like every other Hometown U class. What are we gonna do with it, right? I think the best thing we can do is take your best 2 or 3 points, thank these guys, and go get back to work. What do y'all think?
Awesome.
All right, good.